Woo! Good morning. Sam Tobias, good morning. What is up? Good man.
Dave, did you get those Mulkey clips?
He's not acting like he heard you. Did you hear Shannon? She was asking you about clips that she sent in the email. Bernard, is it Laura Burris's birthday? I saw something on Facebook. She was looking for donations. I didn't know if that meant that it was today. So, yeah, when we see her.
I just wanted to know if you had them ready.
We will certainly wish her a happy birthday. Sam Tobias, Taro Kotani. No update on Derek White that I'm aware of, Taro.
So all of those links are clips, if you could just string them together. Yeah. No, that was just for y'all to have.
Steve Duraco, welcome. Luisa Alanis, yeah. Wes Perkins. Not really. I got my second COVID shot and it knocked me out for about 36 hours. Yeah. Yeah. Did you get Pfizer? Yeah. I had zero effects on the first one. Second one, by day 2, I could barely lift my head off the pillow. It wasn't really no headache or really body. It was just extreme fatigue. Yeah, don't make a lot of plans for this day after. But then again, my friend Steve is on Facebook now. He got his second one, nothing, zero effect. So who knows? Everybody's different. Tracy Bogert, no side effects on shot number 2. Good for you, man. It is Taco Tuesday. Praise the Lord. Praise be to Coach Thomas Wade Landry, who is a football god on high, who actually probably has no direct association with tacos, but tacos are goodness. Tom Landry is goodness. The Dallas Cowboys, at least under Tom Landry, were goodness. Big retirement in the ranks of the Dallas Cowboys since we last convened. Welcome in on a Taco Tuesday. It's the Chris Duel Show, along with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Shannon, good morning. How are you this morning?
I'm fantastic. I'm so excited. I'm officially counting down 4.5 hours until I get to do a stadium walkthrough.
Woo!
Stadium, the home of Austin FC. So I've got my jersey on. I'm going to be that girl. I'm wearing all the gear.
Do it.
So I'm like, I'm going to be on the field. Like, I want my picture taken. Obviously, I'm going to be making TikToks. It's going to be fantastic. But I'm so excited. And also my raincoat, just in case we have, chances of rain today. So I'm fully prepared.
Very cool. Hey, you're going to, I want to see a lot of pictures. I want a full report tomorrow morning on how it is. I'm sure you'll be TikToking and Instagramming and Twittering and Facebooking. So Absolutely. It should be all over the place.
Follow all of the channels.
Very cool. Do you get an opportunity today to stand shoulder to shoulder and ingest a taco with Matthew McConaughey at the stadium?
I don't know that he'll be there today.
If he knew you were coming.
So. I think it's an iHeart special.
All right.
I think it's just the iHeart squad.
Well, we are the official broadcast partner of.
He should be there to welcome us.
He should say, all right, all right, all right.
Open arms and tacos in hand, but I don't think that's going to be the case.
Especially on Taco Tuesday. I see our good friend Laura Burris. She works with the San Antonio Food Bank, which has done amazing work. They always have, but throughout the pandemic, even more so. They've been recognized nationally. There was this photo that went viral nationally, taken from the air, of the people at the San Antonio Food Bank delivering food to just lines and lines and lines of cars of families about a year ago. Anyway, Laura Burris, it is her birthday. So a birthday shout out to regular listener and frequent participant on Facebook Live, Laura Burris. Happy birthday. If you're new to the show, we do stream live video on Tick 760 and AM 1300, the Zone's Facebook pages, which is cool. You not only interact with Shannon and with me in real time, and Dave Ayler, who we'll introduce here in a moment, but there's other cool people in there, like Laura Burris. I see Taro Kotani joining us from Tokyo, Japan this morning. He's the greatest international Spurs fan. So lots of side conversations going on, lots of good people you can meet and hang out with, and we love that you hang out with us. So that's AM 1300, The Zone, and Ticket 760's Facebook page. There's also a YouTube link. You can access it through YouTube. We're also up on Twitch because we're just so darn hip that we have to be on Twitch because all the kids love it. And so there is that. Now, just to throw this out there as well, because I don't throw it out there enough, you can dial us up on the phone lines. We love your phone calls. 800-707-9760. 800-707-9760. And because I usually take so long to introduce him, and because he's been away for, I think, 6 shows, we missed him. The lovely, the talented Mr. Dave Ayler. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you. It feels good to be back.
Well, we missed you, man. How was the I kept up a little bit on Facebook, your wildly adventurous, including eye surgery vacation. How did it go?
Eye surgery went well. Just went in there with a laser and did some work on my retina so I could still see out of it, which was nice. I was in and out of there in about 2 hours.
Nice.
That was nice.
Pain-free with the laser, I'm hoping?
I wouldn't say it was pain-free, but I had a massive headache by the time I got home.
Ooh.
But other than that, it was uneventful. I got my first COVID shot.
Whoa!
So I'm about another 2.5 weeks. I go back for the number 2.
Good man. You're being a good human being. Good to hear.
Do what I can.
So yeah, so we're the 3. In fact, I'm wearing my vaccinated T-shirt. I got number 2 on Thursday, and a shout out to my good buddy Steve DeRocco, The Rock, who got me my vaccinated T-shirt. Trying to be a good human being as well. So among the 3 of us, Shannon, you've got shot 1. Dave, you've got shot 1. I got 2. You both are coming up on number 2. So, woo! And then we can all just mingle. Then we can all just hang out. Go up to Austin and hang out at High Five, where Shannon is an axe-throwing machine. How about that?
Yes, that's what I portray online.
Woo! Got to portray something online.
Well, those are the only throws I posted.
Well, plus, portray something. The fact that you're an axe thrower, that's like, hey, man, maybe we shouldn't mess with her.
Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't throw the typical ridiculousness on social media at Shannon.
Considering buying one just to have in the back of my car, because you never know.
Exactly. And then that way, only if you had to. I wouldn't say be an axe murderer just gratuitously, but if someone challenged you and if it was life or death and it was you or the other assailant, then whoop out that axe and you could add axe murderer, not only axe throwing champion at High Five, but you could also add axe murderer to
High Five is just the origin story.
Yeah. And then when you get married, the hubby can say, I married an axe murderer, which was a movie back in the day. Speaking of movies, and since Dave Ayler's back, Shannon, and I'm showing everybody on, I get these reams of show prep. It's amazing. It's kind of a throwback to when I first got in radio, and you would have a producer actually getting you content, which was a shocker. But the Oscars, not shocking to anybody, the lowest rated Oscars of all time. Nobody watched, I guess, except me.
Yeah, I think
Woo.
you were it.
Yeah, one dude in San Antonio watched. That was it. Just one, and that would have been me. So only one viewer of the Oscars.
Does it say why they think there were low viewers other than the obvious?
Let's see. What's the deal? Well, here I'm just reading from this source. Well, you could blame it on the coronavirus and theaters being closed, except the huge drop is just the latest for Hollywood's biggest night, which was bringing the numbers as high as 43 million back in 2014. So apparently for the last several years, they've been going down, but this was a big, big drop. It's the first time viewership has dropped below 10 million. So and it's so weird because, like you said, Shannon, because theaters were closed, you didn't see many, if any, of these movies. Because so many of them were streaming, I haven't been going to movies the last few years in theaters because I'm a streaming Netflix dude. Because so many of them were streaming, because I got and because of coronavirus, I got HBO Max and I got Hulu and I got Disney Plus, and I mean, I just went nuts. So I wound up seeing more of these that were nominated for the Oscars than in the last few years. So it was just the opposite for me, which was weird.
I think people are just tired of watching Hollywood give themselves awards for doing things that they do every day. That'd be like us giving ourselves awards.
Yeah, hey, it's time once again for the Chris and Shannon Awards. The winners are Shannon and Chris. Yeah. Whoa. We did it again.
None of
yes.
this really matters.
I want to thank the Academy, and I want to thank Shannon for this 17th consecutive Chris and Shannon Award.
Yes.
And you said that I meant to tell you this yesterday because you didn't watch, that you said speeches go on too long. This year, they didn't even, in past years when you'd go kind of long, they'd play the music and kind of, then they'd crank
ignore it.
They didn't even play anybody off the stage. It was like, as long as you want to talk, go with it. No. So yeah, man.
Again, nobody cares. You're just talking to yourself and apparently Chris, who's
and me, and I did care because I wanted Nomadland to win Oscars, and it did.
You watch the ESPYs?
When I know it's there, I do. Yes, but I've missed it. You know, sometimes
really hit or miss as far as how good the show is, and I think it relies on who they get to host it.
Yes, which therefore you would think once they discover a really, really good host, keep going with that. Don't vary things. If it's Peyton Manning and you love him, then stick with Peyton Manning.
I mean, when Justin Timberlake hosted, he was nominated for Emmys after that.
Woo.
But Drake did a great job too.
Okay. Well, then just
Seth Meyers has done well, but
alternate between those three every year. Be a good thing.
That to me is a fun award show, though.
Yes. You know what else is fun? Our contest. We do this twice during this show at 6:20, which it is now, and at 7:20. And then we do it 12 times throughout the day, both on AM 1300 The Zone and on Ticket 760. It's a little bit different. You're going to hear a keyword, and then you go to the website of either station, whatever you're listening to, AM 1300 The Zone or Ticket 760, even if you're listening through the iHeartRadio app, which is crystal clear all the time, or on Facebook Live, however you do, or Twitch. Just go to either Ticket 760's website or AM 1300 The Zone's website. And the contest goes like this.
Keyword on our website.
Happy birthday, Laura.
Summer. Enter it now.
There you go. We'll do that again at 7:20. Van Winkle says, yes, not like the Cowboys have been great in the past 30 years. This is true. That's kind of a side conversation going on there. Speaking of the Cowboys, let's talk about that. Maybe the big news of the last few hours, since we've been on the air, the last 21 hours, Shannon, Sean Lee retiring after 11 seasons, two-time Pro Bowler. And you can't say the name Sean Lee to Cowboys fans without Cowboys fans thinking of injuries to Sean Lee.
Yeah, I think I texted you and Tanner immediately saying the question of is Sean Lee playing will forever be no at this point, because that just always seemed to be every weekend. We go, well, is he playing? And then sometimes he would show up when you didn't think he'd be playing, and then he'd be gone after a couple of snaps. I think it was the right move for him and his health. and for the Cowboys, because when you think of that position, I mean, there's also Leighton Vander Esch, who has had injury issues as of late. So that is a position that the Cowboys need someone who is stable and injury free, or at least less injury prone, so they can be on the field and be a force, especially without Aldon Smith. So doing this the week of the draft to say to the Cowboys organization, hey, there's officially an opening here. I think it's good for him and good for the organization. And then I said on Twitter, I said, I would love to see him as a coach, because we've seen what he's been doing on the sidelines, and especially what he's done with Van Der Esch and how he's brought him up. He's always got that little fancy iPad or whatever video tablet that he's going over plays with other players. And I think he has that kind of mentality. And I think I wouldn't be surprised to see him on the Cowboys sideline, just without the shoulder pads this next season.
Yeah, I said to you yesterday, and it's way early, obviously, to say this about Sam Ehlinger, but that's what I do. I say things way early, and sometimes I'm way off. I said Sam Ehlinger has that vibe of a guy who could be a coach one day, and I agree with what you just said. You feel that same vibe from Sean Lee, and when you texted me yesterday that Sean Lee retired, what I texted you back was what could have been, because when you look at when he did play, he was a tackling machine. He would almost always lead the Cowboys in tackles if he was healthy for a full game. I mean, this dude would have been a Hall of Famer, I do believe, if he didn't have those injury issues. He was a madman when he was healthy.
I know he sat out, I believe it was the entire 2014 season. And then I believe he had 5 seasons of his playing career where he missed at least 5 games. That's a lot. I think it was a total of 58 games he missed in his 11-year career. And when you think about, the regular season, the Cowboys didn't play a lot of postseason games. That's a lot of games to miss. But you're right. I mean, every time there was a halfway decent play made by the Cowboys defense, Sean Lee was somewhere in there, part of it. Even if he only got half credit for a tackle, I mean, when he was on the field, he was doing the most, and the ultimate team guy, leader on that defense. I think he'll be missed in that locker room, which is why, again, I would love to see him still be part of that Cowboys organization.
Yeah, hopefully. And it would make so much sense for Dan Quinn, the new defensive coordinator, and Mike McCarthy as head coach, because of his connection to the current players in the locker room. Granted, if you've got your whole defensive staff filled, create a position for this guy and then move him into something else next year to just make that move and say, yeah, he's one of our defensive coaches, so that he can still be a presence in that locker room and bring the knowledge that he has. I love it. I think it'd be a great idea. So we'll talk more Dallas Cowboys coming up throughout the day. We're 2 days away from the draft. So madman draft freak Tanner Carlson, we love him. He's going to join us at 8:06 and also in the 8 o'clock hour, second half of the 8 o'clock hour. Andy Everett going to join us. We think Andy Everett big timed us yesterday. I get a text from Andy at 7 all morning. Yeah, Andy Everett at 8:05. Then at 7:45, Andy, oh, sorry about the late notice. I'm golfing with clients this morning.
Well, I mean, just be thankful he texts you and he didn't have his people text you.
True. Good point. Good point. All right. We got a lot coming at you in the next hour. The salty shakedown from Shannon. This day in sports history, sports birthdays. Coming up, the high five play of the day. We like to bring you something positive in the 6 o'clock hour. We'll do that coming up. Oh, and we do have a poll question, unlike yesterday.
I really like it.
Yeah, and it's true. And it's going to be, and we should remember, whatever we vote in this poll question, you should remember it. So when it happens, you go, see, April 27th, I told you.
Yeah, take a screenshot.
Told you he'd suck. All right, so we'll tell you what that is coming up as well. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney, completely bedecked in Austin FC Verde on a Taco Tuesday. There it is. There's a logo. If you're on Facebook Live, you can see all of this. She's going to the stadium today. How cool. Mr. Dave Ayler is back. Retina intact. I'm Chris. We're with you till 9. Thanks for hanging out. It's the Chris Duel Show. Yeah, Andy Everett ghosted me. What can I tell you? Okay. I am behind on everything. But I do think let me do this first. Yeah, Laura Burris, I would have wished you a happy birthday on Facebook, and I will later today. Because I did see you had like the fundraiser, but I didn't know if that was today. Because I'm behind on everything, I did not check my Facebook birthdays today. But, Laura, when we do sports birthdays, we will include you. Because you are a sports birthday. You're a University of Georgia fanatic, and you are personal friends with each of Herschel Walker's 8 personalities. And you listen to this show, which makes it a sports birthday. Okay.
Chris, on this high five moment, you just intro it, and then I play the music better than you did.
Yeah, very similar to the Salty Shakedown. It's time for the high five play of the day, and then you hit the music. Thanks.
It's the Pharrell thing.
Yes, sir.
Chris, are you gonna leave this one since it's essay based?
Since you found it, if you want to do it, we can go either way.
Okay.
But my thought is, and I need to look more. And I thought I had one earlier today, but yours is better for today. So yeah, if you're cool with it, since you found it, then maybe I'll find tomorrow's.
All
For
right.
God's sake. Let's see. Yeah, and in a perfect world, once we get rolling, I know we're into week number 2, so we should be rolling, but we'll kind of just trade off. I'll do one, you do one. If we discover them that way. Let's see. Laura, I see you say, let's go dogs. Is JT Daniels still the quarterback? I think he's got one more year there. USC transfer. Now Georgia Bulldog. Let's see now as I try to catch up. Did that go through? Woo. I love it when the computer runs slowly. When I'm in a hurry. Woo! Woo! Chris Duel show along with Shannon Salty Sweeney, blasting from Austin to San Antonio, all points in between, all points to the outside and far away, globally on the internet, joined by Taro Kotani from Tokyo, Japan this morning on Facebook Live. In fact, he was asking us about Derek White. Derek White, who's been playing like a madman for the Spurs lately, sprained an ankle last night in the Spurs overtime victory in Washington against the Wizards. We'll talk a little bit about that coming up. No update on his condition or the severity of that ankle sprain. Hopefully it's not a very severe one. I'm sure we'll get an update from the Spurs a little bit later in the morning. So we'll talk more NBA. We'll talk NFL, NFL draft. Kim Mulkey, we heard from her as she was introduced at LSU. We'll get into that. We'll tell you what our poll question is. But first, how about something positive, something good, something that's happening that's worth talking about? It is time for our high five play of the day. And Shannon, of course, high five is named after a very, very cool 2 locations in the Austin area, a very cool entertainment and noshing and drinking establishment.
Oh yes, high five, good vibes, good times. One on Anderson, kind of central Austin, and the other out in Lakeway. And as we've said before, obviously it's Taco Tuesday, and that's a pretty great day Tuesdays at High Five because you got $2 laser tag missions, $2 domestic beers, and $2 tacos. So head out to High Five and enjoy you some good times on a Tuesday. This morning's story comes straight out of San Antonio. I loved this story not only because it local, it's sports, but it's about the kids. And we love when great things happen to the youth because we need to bring them up. We need them to grow up and be good people, be good humans, as Chris likes to say. And so there's this camp in San Antonio called Angel Tree Sports Camp, and it is bigger than sports. Local area coaches, as well as former NFL stars and current stars, came together to host a camp that taught kids football, but it taught them more about football, it taught them about teamwork, it taught them about the importance of family, because most of these kids, unfortunately, have parents who are incarcerated and are not around. So just a great atmosphere for these kids to learn from guys who have made it to levels that most of us can only dream of, to get skills not only in football, but in life. And like I said, teamwork. I mean, there was nothing better for me growing up than playing on a team, because as much fun as I had playing the actual sport, I probably had more fun in the team dinners we had after, or the end of the season party where, even though we all got participation trophies, we were all hanging out, having fun together, doing something other than the sport. So I think it's an incredible outlet for these kids to have. I think camps for kids are great no matter what the context may be. If it's arts and crafts, not my thing. I can't draw to save my life. But in this case, sports and football, again, creating great community. I think it's a great story out of San Antonio. And it's our high five moment of the day. So high five to these people for putting this camp on, and for San Antonio for hosting it.
Well, and I love just the idea, Shannon, and it makes so much sense, and it is probably so helpful. You mentioned some of these kids in the Angel Tree Sports Camp. They some of them, if not a lot of them, have parents who are incarcerated. You think of kind of a family pattern, and it does happen. A lot of times, the child of someone who winds up going to prison, that kid kind of looks at their parent and thinks that's going to be my future. And sometimes that can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So while I agree with you, all kids, a camp or a sports camp is so valuable just to learn teamwork and learn discipline and learn what it takes to be successful on a sports team while having fun at the same time. But you think about this, especially and even if it weren't a self-fulfilling prophecy, just the way kids think. A kid might think, wow, my dad or my mom wound up going to prison, so I'm sure I will too. You just, as a kid, you think that. So, I mean, when I was a kid, my dad died when I was 4. And he died at the age of 42. So my whole life I was like, well, my dad died really, really young. So I guess I'm going to die really, really young. It was a childhood thought. It's what a kid, you look at what happened in your family. You look at what happened to your dad or your mom, and you start thinking that way. And I mean, even when I was approaching the age of 42, I'm like, wow, am I going to, we talk about the 27 club. I was thinking, wow, am I going to make it past 42? I did, and it turned out I made it way past 42. But I mean, even as a kid, I had that thought, and that was a thought that followed me all the way into adulthood and into my 40s. So I mean, I can certainly see how a kid who comes from a family that has had adversity in the form of prison time and incarceration, that can really affect them. So kudos to everybody at Angel Tree Sports Camp, and kudos to everybody who uses their platform for good and takes the time to help any kind of kid. Because any kid, even if you think that kid comes from very good means and doesn't have a lot of concerns, well, everybody does, and everybody's life is different. So to all of you who are helping kids out, way to go. Tip of the hat. And I'm actually tipping my hat on Facebook Live. There's that.
A big high five.
Woo!
to that camp, and I'm sure creating mentorships and friendships for years to come out of that.
Boom.
Wonderful stuff.
Very, very nice. Very, very nice. So I did mention the Spurs, Shannon. Spurs get an overtime win in Washington against the Wizards. It was the Spurs' highest scoring game of the season at, I believe, 146 to 143 was the final. Obviously, a game going into overtime where you play another 5 minutes, that goes a long way toward enabling you to have your high score of the season at 146 points. Nonetheless, Spurs now have won 5 out of 6, 7 out of their last 10. And as I look at the standings, your beloved Dallas Mavericks, while yes, they are to be envied in the 6th spot in the Western Conference, Spurs just now 2 games behind the Mavericks for that 6th slot. So it's getting interesting with 12 games left to play for the Spurs.
Yeah, and Mavs dropped a game last night to the Kings. I know the Kings are below 500, but to me, they've been kind of a sneaky team that they just seem to get teams either on their night off or what have you, where they come in and they play really well. And the Spurs obviously winning over the Wizards last night, who had won 8 straight up until that point.
Yeah.
It's an incredible win. And yeah, I heard the score first on my way in, and I was like, man, that's really high, before they were like in overtime.
Yes.
I was like, oh, okay. But still, that's a lot of points.
Well, and at the end of regulation, it was 133. So, I mean, they jacked up a lot of points in regulation as well. Yeah. But, and again, the big question mark for the Spurs, because he was playing so well, Derek White has been a big part of this, winning 5 out of the last 6 games. He had to be helped off the court. It looked ugly too. He just came down wrong. In fact, it was another Spurs player's foot that he kind of came down on his toe, twisted his ankle. Again, you never know on an ankle sprain. It can be real bad or it can be not so bad. I had an ankle sprain about a year ago, just a freak ankle sprain, Shannon, and it like I felt pain in that ankle for about 6 months. Now, granted, I'm not a young NBA player who's at the height of his athletic prowess, and I didn't, go into rehab and have great medical, rehab facilities to go to and work on that ankle. But, an ankle can go really bad, and we're hoping for the Spurs' sake that doesn't happen to Derek White. And I would imagine that's something to be listening for later today. We should get news on that.
I know Texas fans had a little bit of a heart skip on Saturday during the orange and white game when star running back Bijan Robinson looked like he might have tweaked his, I believe it was his right ankle. But he did mention afterwards he thought he had tweaked it right when it happened, but that it ended up being fine. But yeah, an ankle, I think it's one of the pieces of our body we do take for granted, because we don't think about it until it hurts, but when it hurts, they do linger, because it's a body part you use all the time, unless you're able to get one of those scooters and just ride around on one of those for who knows how long. I mean, they're not meant for everyday use. Let's just say that. I've seen people use them. They're not easy.
You mentioned Bijan Robinson. I did not ask you about him yesterday. You were talking about the quarterbacks. Bijan Robinson, how did he look in that orange and white game over the weekend?
He looked great. Him and Roshan, they didn't get, they threw the ball a lot, particularly down the field, which was good to see. It's always, I think people enjoy the long ball. But they both ran well. I mean, Bijan is just so patient and finding and then hitting the hole. And his cut moves are insane. I believe he had the first touchdown for the orange side during that game. But if you're not excited, if you're a college football fan and you don't get excited by watching that guy, you're not a college football fan. Like, come on. Dude is a early Heisman candidate, and rightfully so. He is electric and exciting to watch. And with hopefully a more well-rounded offensive line with Derek Kerstetter coming back this year, there'll be a lot of holes for him to hit during the season.
Meanwhile, bouncing from college football now to the NFL, and obviously with 2 days to go, or games.
There were games.
Yeah, we wish well, that's what's kind of, speaking of games, just diverging again, and I digress, but that's what I do. NFL Network now, they're showing old games because it's the off season. So in addition to showing replays of pro days, and they're showing the quarterbacks a lot again and again and again. So you can see Mac Jones pro day, Zach Wilson's pro day, kind of interesting. But they also, I'm so football starved, and I mentioned this to you yesterday, just telling you how much I can't wait for the NFL draft on Thursday night because I'm football starved. But the NFL will just show random games. So, I'll be watching, Jets versus Raiders, and I don't know the outcome, and I don't want to know the outcome. See, I could go to Google and Google the outcome, but I have forgotten the outcome. So I'm kind of, it's a weird kind of pseudo NFL football fix.
That's the one that got the defensive coordinator for the Jets fired, right? Because the Jets should have won.
Yes.
And they found a way to lose by letting Derek Carr do it. Was a Hail Mary pass, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Jets were still winless at the time.
Right.
And Sam Darnold, if you win that one and win a couple more, maybe things go differently for Darnold. And now he's gone, but he's probably glad he's gone. But yeah, so
he's glad. They held a party at his house for him getting traded.
Right. But I knew the Jets won a couple of games, and it was like week 10 or 11 when this matchup happened, Raiders Jets. So I'm thinking, okay, this must have been because they scored, they were in it, it was tight. Then they scored late in the fourth quarter to take the lead. I'm going, this is the Jets' first win. I'll watch. It'll be kind of cool. I went to USC like Sam Darnold. I like Sam Darnold. Be cool to kind of watch him celebrate here when he gets the first win. No, and you're right. Went the other way. Hail Mary pass, Raiders. Touchdown. Jets lose again. They're still winless.
That was on purpose.
But it was fun. It was kind of
not have lost that game.
A weird little football fix. So speaking of the NFL, I did want to mention this. Kyle Shanahan, the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers, he said a couple of interesting things yesterday. One of which was they asked him, because the big speculation, and most analysts believe that Mac Jones will be that pick for the 49ers at number 3. Mm-hmm. So they kind of said, well, is it going to be Mac Jones? What are you looking at? How do you feel about the number 3 pick? And Kyle Shanahan said, well, there are 5 quarterbacks that we're looking at that and again, he's just not, it's all smoke and mirrors, and he's not giving straight answers. But I have heard, and after our show yesterday, I was listening to the Dan Patrick show on our air, and apparently word is when they traded up to get number 3, they knew that their guy was Mac Jones. Apparently there's somebody in that circle of 49er brain trust who really likes North Dakota State's Trey Lance. So they don't know if they'll be able to convince the rest of the guys, including Kyle Shanahan, to pull the trigger on Trey Lance. But apparently he's now in the conversation in the 49er camp. But the strangest thing that Kyle Shanahan said yesterday, somebody asked him, can you guarantee that Jimmy Garoppolo will still be on the 49ers roster on Sunday after the draft? And Kyle Shanahan's answer was, well, I can't guarantee that any of us will be alive on Sunday. So therefore, no, I can't guarantee that anyone, including me, will be a 49er. It's like
I'm very Rams GM like about Jared Goff.
Yeah.
For now.
And kind of condescending. And if you're going to give answers like this, don't have a press conference.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're wasting our time.
It was almost like to calm the nerves of the fans and set them straight, and it just totally didn't. It just, I think, stirred more up. And that kind of leads us to our little poll question here today, that history tells us that at least one of these QBs will be a bust. Which of these QBs is most likely to be a bust in the NFL? We've got Justin Fields, Mac Jones, Trevor Lawrence, and Zach Wilson. And I picked Mac Jones initially.
Okay.
Which was what my finger hit. So I can't go back. I can't take it back. But my thought is, again, I have a really hard time. Just history doesn't show well for Alabama and Ohio State quarterbacks. And, I know last year the Giants really suffered due to injury. So I think it's very much for a lot of these quarterbacks about the system they get put in.
Yeah.
And how healthy the team around them can be. I think Mac Jones can do well in San Francisco with a guy like Kyle Shanahan. But if he's already getting all of this flack about we don't want him, the fans don't want him, there are people within the organization that don't want him, and it screams the only guy who wants you here is the coach. I don't know how the players feel about that with all the murmurs of we don't want him, that it could end up messing with him mentally. But that was my initial vote, and then my second thought was okay, Justin Fields, because he's out of Ohio State. And again, both these guys like don't have as great of a sample size as a guy like Trevor Lawrence.
True. And right now I'm looking at the poll, 6.3% picking Trevor Lawrence. I mean, that you're a hater. It's like, well,
it's fair. Like he is going to the Jaguars, and they have a lot to do. It's more than just the quarterback that needed fixing.
True. So we'll continue to update you on that poll question. You can certainly vote at Ticket760 or at AM1300 The Zone on Twitter. Quick break. Lots more coming up. Lots to talk about. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney, Dave Ayler making the show go. I'm Chris. It's the Chris Duel Show. All right. Lucinda Sullivan, good morning.
Do we want to hit up Mulkey here?
Sure.
Okay, and I don't know. Go ahead.
There's audio, right, with that? So we should tell Dave? Okay.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if you saw this over the weekend, but we need to pounce on Tanner.
Okay.
You know how I had the McCarthy-McCartney thing last week?
Yes.
So McCartney tweeted something over the weekend, and Tanner retweeted it saying, Cowboys head coach for the win. And I don't know if he was joking or if he accidentally made the mistake.
Yeah, see, I saw that, and I thought he was joking. That was my first thought.
Like, I was waiting for it to be taken down.
Okay. Well, yeah, well, no, either way, we should give him crap, and even if he was joking, he's asking for it. Ralph Balderas, welcome in. John Williams, Sam Tobias, Luisa Alanis. So, yeah, Lucinda, you are the patron saint of coffee. Therefore, in your honor, I'm going to make a coffee run. Something just went crazy. All right. I bring in my own coffee, not because I'm a coffee snob, but because, as Tanner can tell you, sometimes the coffee here tastes like soap. Someone cleaning out the coffee makers, which is nice. With soap, that means you're being sanitary. But when the coffee tastes like soap, that ain't good. And then once I tasted it, and it tasted like soap, then every time I tasted it here, and I think it was in my head, like, am I detecting soap in the coffee? Well, Sam Tobias, the only reason it's the first coffee run you see is I did one right before we went to air at 6. So, and then I wake up and I drink coffee at home. So I'm guzzling coffee ever since about 3:30. Not that it does me any good. So, Dave, I don't know if you heard that we're going to do the Kim Mulkey discussion here, and apparently there's audio associated with that. Oh, cool. Okay. All right. Where's my mask? Thank you, sir. I do have NFL withdrawals, John Williams, but I'm getting my fix this week. Thursday night. I've got sunshine on a cloudy day. When it's cold outside, I've got the month of May. Even though it's still April, just for 3 more days. Thank you, Sam Tobias. All right. Jared Taylor, good morning on YouTube. Sam Tobias says it's election season in San Antonio. I only will vote for tacos if they are on the ballot. Sam, I voted yesterday. My vote is cast. I've got the sports page here because I'm an old man and I still read the newspaper. Get off my lawn. Sean Lee, the big story. So, big story about Deshaun Watson here. You know, the fact that the Houston Texans, you know, now his value, nobody wants to give Houston anything of value for him. If I'm the Houston Texans, I mean, if you're convinced where there's smoke, there's fire, you know, maybe you either trade him for like something ridiculous just to be done with this chapter. You're not going to get anything for him. Yeah, maybe you trade him for a 5th round draft pick or something, or you just outright release him and say, but, and again, I realize there are money issues, contract issues, and most contracts, and I would imagine in the NFL as well, have a moral turpitude clause. So maybe the Houston Texans are kind of waiting to see if something could be proven in court or if there's something he settles to and then do. I mean, that may be the reason why they're waiting. Yeah, Astros, Sam, I see what you wrote. Astros got a win last night. They get back to 500. Hopefully now they can ascend and do their thing. I don't want the haters to be happy. Here we come. 7:00 hour. Taco Tuesday. Final Taco Tuesday of April. If this were a normal April, it would be Fiesta in San Antonio right now.
Now, Chris Duel.
Taco Tuesday, two beautiful words in the English language. Go get yourself a taco, get yourself a breakfast taco. It's the right thing to do. It's your civic duty. We celebrate it on this show. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney, and back after 6 days absence and his vacation where he enjoyed laser eye surgery.
I don't know if I really enjoyed it very much.
True. And not pain free, which is I thought you were pain free because I got LASIK once and it was pain free. So I thought, all right, if they're shooting lasers into my eyes and I can't feel it, that's good. So when you said laser, I thought, all right, it must be pain free, right? But not necessarily the case.
They were shooting it back to the back of my eye, and I
Ooh.
came out of there with the worst headache I've ever had in my life.
How long did the headache last?
For a couple hours.
Yikes.
Yeah, I got loaded up with. I took some ibuprofen before I went in, and about 6 more when I got home.
My goodness. So, but you're all good now? You don't have to deal with this again?
Not unless something happens that isn't supposed to happen.
Okay. Well, welcome back. I'm glad the retina's doing okay and you got your vision and it's all good.
Yeah, it's just having vision. It's nice.
Very, very nice. He's David Ayler, your soundscape stylist. Shannon Salty Sweeney on board, as always, wearing her green, just hours away from her tour of Q2 Stadium. Am I pronouncing that? Is it Q2
Yeah.
Stadium, Q2 Park, Q2 Pitch?
Stadium.
Thank
I don't
you.
think they have a pitch sponsor,
No pitch sponsor
Uh,
yet.
but
I-
they soccer, like they'll sponsor anything.
Oh, God, yes.
'Cause they've got,
Absolutely.
like the Yeti on their chest, but then they have a sleeve sponsor on one side, another sleeve sponsor on the other.
And I just wonder, and of course, NASCAR is the worst. NASCAR, you've
Oh,
got Pennzoil, Spark Plug. I mean, just all over the,
Mhm.
what the drivers are wearing for NASCAR. And then now you've got obviously the NBA with just one
Right.
ad on the shoulder. You've just got to wonder because the WNBA just went straight, I think the LA Sparks might have been the first one where just remove LA Sparks and they just stuck an advertiser right there on. And in Europe,
that's like soccer, right? I mean, they
Yeah.
don't have the team names; they have the jersey sponsor.
yes. So you got to wonder if it's a slow or a slippery slope for the NBA. I don't love it. Love it again, being a traditionalist. Seeing NBA uniforms the way I've seen them all these years. I hope it doesn't happen, but if there's money to be made, there's money to be made, and I kind of get that. So we got a lot to talk about. We got a poll question on Twitter. You can vote at Ticket760. You can get access to it, of course, at AM1300 The Zone. We listed what some regard as the top 4 quarterbacks. I know there are others like Trey Lance and Kyle Trask, but we picked what many consider to be the top 4. History says at least one of them will be a bust. So we're asking you who is most likely to be that bust. Coming up a little bit later in the show, in fact, less than an hour from now, our official NFL draft go-to guy, Tanner Carlson. He is just 48 hours away, a little over 48 hours away, as are we from the NFL draft. So we'll get the latest from Tanner. Andy Everett, if he doesn't big time us at 8:35, if he's not on a golf course with clients, then he'll join us at
Big time
8:35.
him. He calls us, right?
Yeah.
Let it ring a little longer this
Ooh,
morning.
we don't take his call this time.
Yeah.
And you are Andy
We
who?
filled your slot with someone else.
Very nice. I like that. I like that a lot. All right, Shannon, we talked about it yesterday. It was the big story, I think, coming out of the weekend, Kim Mulkey, who, and I heard some people say, and this is a little bit of a stretch, but not much, that it's almost like Coach K leaving Duke. I mean, she was so associated with that Baylor brand. And in women's basketball, obviously Pat Summitt, maybe the greatest coach there ever was in women's college basketball. But, probably, Gino Ariema, you're probably on one hand if you count, or if you did a Mount Rushmore of the four greatest women's college basketball coaches. I truly believe Kim Mulkey is on that Mount Rushmore. So when she decides to leave Baylor and go to LSU, it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. I like it'd be like Coach K leaving to go coach elsewhere. I think obviously Duke is a bigger brand basketball wise than little old Waco Lady Baylor Bears.
Little old Waco.
Little old Waco.
You like to take your passive aggressive shots at other schools in the Big 12 that are not the Texas Longhorns.
I am the daughter of Kim Mulkey, and that's what we do. We take passive aggressive shots. That's what she is known for. And she, we were looking forward to this press conference yesterday, and she did not disappoint. So we have compiled a little montage of the best and favorite moments from yesterday's presser.
Well, I'm going to take this damn mask off. Because I have a lot to say. You get a coach to leave an institution that has had so much success. I think that's what everybody's wondering. And the first thing you're going to wonder is, God, she got a boatload of money. What did I tell my players? It's what you can imagine. When you invest in a young person's life and you tell them you're leaving, you feel a great sense of remorse, sadness, because they came to an institution because of you and the program that you built. So you can imagine it was a many, many tears shed. And all I could tell them was I was going home, that I was going home, and that I loved them, and that I hoped that they could understand and not be angry at me, but it's just a feeling in my gut that it was time to go home. What did I tell the current players? They can probably answer that better than you can. I introduced myself to them, my staff to them, and in return, I wanted them to introduce themselves. And it wasn't in great detail. It wasn't a big rah-rah speech. It was mainly an introduction, and that let's go win some basketball games. Thank you for bringing me home. Thank you for trusting in my abilities. And as Coach O says, go Tigers.
Just a couple of clips from that presser yesterday. She was flown in via private jet. She was, with her grandkids riding in the limo to campus. She immediately met Coach O. She was upset with him when he referred to her as ma'am, saying, "I'm younger than you are." And she headed into the locker room where she virtually met her new team and her players. And it kind of sounded like maybe she's just bringing over the whole Waco staff since she's already got this staff in place. I mean, this has been a quick turnaround. Friday, it was rumors that she was, in fact, going to leave Waco for LSU. And then while she's telling her Baylor Bears team goodbye, it is announced that she is the new head coach over at LSU. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a couple of those Baylor kids make a switch here.
Yeah.
In the coming days, or at least enter the transfer portal at the very least, because I'm sure you don't go to Waco to go to Waco.
No.
That's not a destination city. You go to Waco to play basketball for someone like Kim Mulkey in a program that is as elite as it is because of her and her 21 seasons there. And I don't know much about LSU basketball, but I'm sure we will get to see them a lot this year now that they have Mulkster on the sideline. She's always dressed to the nines, got her heels, has her stance. She loves to squat during games. I love it. She loves to work on her glutes. It's a great time for her. But I'm excited to see what she can do here. Like I said, she was at Baylor for 21 years. It's the only place she's been a head coach. So it's going to be a big test for her. And I know a lot of people didn't like the argument of she was going home because she isn't exactly from Baton Rouge, just from Louisiana. but this is the move she make, and this is where we are now. And as a Texas fan, I'm not too sad that she's out of the Big 12. She was a big hump to get over. That doesn't mean Baylor's going to be easy next year, especially if they do keep some of their key players. But should be a little easier for Vic Schaefer to get around what was formerly Mulkey's team.
Huge coup for LSU. I mean, if Texas would have done this and grabbed Kim Mulkey, I'd say the same thing. If anybody would have, and I couldn't help but think, and I know his name came up yesterday as well when we were talking about this, but her theme as we listened to that audio was "Going Home." I'm going home, and and you make a huge point as well that she's not from Baton Rouge in Louisiana. She's from another part of Louisiana, but if you're going to go be a head basketball coach in Louisiana, the biggest school is LSU. If you want to win, it is LSU. But Chris Beard, obviously, we talked a lot about Chris Beard as he built something very, very successful at Texas Tech. But for him, home was the University of Texas, where he was an alum. For Kim Mulkey, I think the state of Louisiana is home. We don't know, where her relatives are, where her mom, if she's still alive, might be in Louisiana. There's probably a big extended family that no matter where you are in Louisiana, that Baton Rouge is probably closer. And you talk about, and I'm sure we're going to see it, because not only do kids who went to play for her in Waco went to play for Kim Mulkey in Waco, but that team at Baylor was the team that she constructed with the ability that she has to construct a women's basketball team. So whoever she really treasures that's on that Baylor roster, and we talked a lot about the transfer portal lately and how wide open it has made college athletics. So, yeah, I would expect she's going to use the transfer portal to the fullest, and she's got the best of both worlds now. I mean, she can analyze that LSU roster, see if there's anybody there that she sees of value, and she can go and pluck her favorites and the most talented players from the Baylor roster. And now, and I said this about Chris Beard coming to Texas from Texas Tech, she does have a bigger brand now. She's got the SEC and the SEC network, and she's got LSU, which is a bigger and LSU plus Kim Mulkey equals a bigger brand than Baylor plus Kim Mulkey. So I expect her to be hugely successful at LSU.
Yeah, and it's not like she's going into a program that was dead in the water. I mean, they're no Baylor, which of course she created, but they did go 9-13 last season. So she is working with something. She's not starting from ground zero here. So like you said, the transfer portal, she will probably pluck and pull, and if not, maybe one or even two players from that former Baylor roster of hers to come over to LSU and continue to play for her. I mean, like I said, 4 days ago, before this was announced, her last tweet was "Welcome to the family" to one of her recruits that had committed to Baylor. Wouldn't be surprised if there was some Chris Beard-like activity where guys he recruited to Tech are now heading to Texas.
And it's interesting, on the same day that Baylor rolls out Kim Mulkey, LSU rolls out Kim Mulkey. You also had a lawsuit filed, a federal class action lawsuit filed by a number of women who were on that campus between 2013 and 2021. Then they say they were victims of sex-based discrimination, including rape, sexual assault, sexual harassment, and or stalking perpetrated by male LSU students. And as we've seen so many times, Shannon, the university, it is alleged in this federal class action lawsuit, tried to hide these allegations. And you think about it, and we're going to do the contest here in a moment at 7:20, but we'll finish this thought. You think about what a university is. It's a brand. We say that all the time. It's true. And a university is a money-making institution. And LSU, in this case, had bad reports of really, really bad, awful, horrendous things going on. And if this lawsuit is true, tried to cover that up. Because if you think about it, that you don't want bad pub, and that's the worst pub, that women are being abused who are students on your campus. So that story breaks yesterday about LSU on the same day they roll out Kim Mulkey.
Any relation to the Les Miles situation? Like,
Good question.
Happened at LSU, but gets him fired from Kansas?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. And, and there's even some, Coach O, who Kim Mulkey cited in that press conference, if any of this happened under his watch on the football team, he could be vulnerable as well. All right, I mentioned it. I'm a minute late, but we get there as quick as we can. We do this contest on this show twice a day, but we do it throughout the day 12 times, both on AM 1300, The Zone, and Ticket 760. You're going to get a keyword right now. You go with that keyword, go to either website, the station's website that you're listening to, pop in the keyword, and you got a shot at $1,000. Here it is.
Right now, here's your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Trip. That's Trip. Enter it now.
Trip. Go on a trip. Shannon is going on a trip to Q2 Stadium today, which will be fun to see the home of Austin FC. I can't wait to be there. I look forward to it as well. Jumping back for a moment, though, and just listening to Kim Mulkey, and she is such a distinctive personality. And I hope Ed Orgeron survives at LSU, and I expect that he will. I love his story, and I've paid a lot of attention because Ed Orgeron was the defensive coordinator at USC. He became an interim head coach, and USC, which also had Coach Sark and didn't hold on to him, USC ridiculously, when it was looking for a new coach, they say even because of the way he talks with that Cajun accent, they go, well, we don't know if he's USC head coach material. They were coming off of Pete Carroll, who's the golden boy, who looks like he's straight out of Central Casting. But you just look, Shannon, the personality of an Ed Orgeron, and the way, and you talk about Central Casting for LSU, that coach would be Ed Orgeron. And now Kim Mulkey, who has just such a distinctive personality, and as you mentioned earlier, gives us just spectacular sound bites in press conferences. Yeah. Both of those coaches, absolutely amazing personalities.
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing. Most people think of a press conference and think, eye roll, how boring. Not with these two. Never with these two. And I will miss her coming to Texas and saying those backhanded things, whether it be because she beat Karen Aston, her former assistant, and she was running all my plays. She was using my plays. Or if she's in the press room after playing at the Irwin Center and she's saying, "What we can only get 2 microphones. We can't afford another one." I'll miss her for that.
You do a very good Kim Mulkey, by the way.
Mom. The salt doesn't fall far from the shaker. You know what I'm saying?
Someday, when things calm down, we should get Kim Mulkey on the show. You and Kim Mulkey together on the radio. That would be worlds colliding. Yep. That might just be, as Kyle Shanahan said, speaking of press conferences, that might be the end of the world as we know it. But you, like you just said, though, and we're going to break here in a moment, but you said, true, you'll never have a boring press conference from Kim Mulkey or Ed Orgeron. And I flashed upon Jason Garrett. I was thinking, who gives the most boring press conferences ever? Jason Garrett, when he was head coach of the Cowboys, those were some of the most boring, worthless press conferences ever.
Well, when you don't have the answers to begin with,
it's
hard to even make something up. When you're winning, I mean, you can have fun with it, right? I mean, people are like, oh, look at this personality. When you do that when you're losing, they're like, oh, they're trying to sweep it under the rug. They're not a great coach. They're too much about fun. Winning changes a lot, and press conferences is just one of those things on that list. And Jason Garrett just lacks personality in general.
All I heard was, we're going to have to go back and look at the film, and we're going to have to clean it up. Yeah, we're going to have to go back and look at the film, and obviously there's things we have to clean up. God. Well, and it's funny, you say Jason Garrett just lacks personality. Mm-hmm. I've seen YouTube videos. He went back to Princeton, and this is on YouTube somewhere, and he delivered a speech to the kids at Princeton, which is his alma mater, and he was charismatic. He's
We were
got it
talking
in
about
him.
football.
He can be interesting if he chose to. I guess he
I
just
think-
chooses not to.
I think his perfect gig would be, we talked about the Oscars earlier. I think he'd be a perfect seat filler for award shows. Just sit there and clap the whole time.
There you go. So yeah, you don't even need
Forget
like
football, professional seat filler.
a cardboard cutout of Jason Garrett, about equivalent to having him just sit there himself as a seat filler. All right. Coming up, the salty shakedown is not far away. Plus, this day in sports history, sports birthdays, and more. Tanner Carlson, did he fall for the fake, well, not the fake Mike McCarthy, but the confused Mike McCartney blue check head coach on Twitter? There's some question out there. Tanner Carlson, he's got some splaining to do in addition to talking NFL draft with us just after 8 o'clock. Andy Everett, if he has time for us in between golfing with beautiful clients, he may join us at 8:35. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney, getting ready to shake your world down. Dave Ayler, your soundscape stylist. Thanks for hanging out with us. We are with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Carl Fisher, you are correct. Spurs won. Welcome in, Carl. Jason Paniagua, I do not lower that. I do not know Young Rock. So no, I haven't seen it. Good morning, Beth Settle. Welcome in. John Williams, I did just check that. Interesting on Leighton Vander Esch. Here we go. Welcome in on a Taco Tuesday, April 27th. Therefore, the final Taco Tuesday of April. Anytime I look at a calendar, Shannon, and I see April 27th, this is supposed to be, and throughout my life, you're in the final week of April in San Antonio, Texas. It is typically Fiesta. We didn't have Fiesta last year in San Antonio due to COVID. They said, all right, we're going to move it to November. It's typically in April, and then November got here, and they go, well, COVID's still here, so we won't be doing it. So now it's I think somebody said they moved it to June. I'll have to look that up, but I just know that typically on an April 27th, the weather's great. It would be a Taco Tuesday, and you could go downtown or to a number of locations, and there would be tacos, there would be food, there would be adult beverages, there would be music, and people cracking confetti eggs all over your head.
See, I need a sponsor so they can get me down there when Fiesta does happen.
Yes.
I didn't attend when I lived there.
It's one of the best things.
I was not made aware.
You would love it.
Until it was too late.
It is one of the best things San Antonio does. It's cool. It's our equivalent, not equivalent, but it's kind of our little Mardi Gras. You know, New Orleans has Mardi Gras, and obviously Fiesta is not Mardi Gras, and Mardi Gras is obviously bigger globally. But Fiesta is kind of, for San Antonio, it's our typically like a 9-day party, and a lot of people.
It's called Fiesta.
Yeah, right.
It's gotta be good.
It's got to be a Fiesta in San Antonio with Mexican food and bands and beer and cocktails. Yeah. It's in colors. So yeah, it's a cool thing. So anyway, there's that. I look at the calendar at April 27th. It's like, oh man, we should be on the street drinking heavily and eating tacos. You can do that anyway, though. You can Fiesta any day of the week, any time of the year. So we recommend that. Coming up in just a little bit, Shannon's Salty Shakedown. Once again, in the 8 o'clock hour, we'll go in depth into the NFL draft, which is now just 2 days away, with Tanner Carlson. Andy Everett, golf guru, voice of UTSA athletics, and man about town and man about the golf course, will join us, we think, at 8:35. But first, let's get this party started with this day in sports history. On this day in 1961, the NFL officially recognizes the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. We're going to have to talk to our buddy James Allen about that later in the week. So I guess today's the big birthday anniversary of the NFL and the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. On this day in 1982, the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft for the New England Patriots, defensive end, University of Texas, Kenneth Sims.
Uncle Kenny.
Woo!
I think I'm going to see him this weekend.
Oh, nice.
I think he's going to be at an event I'm going to.
Tell him happy draft anniversary. April 27th, 1982.
I will do that.
Tell him we talked about him on the radio. This day in 1983, Nolan Ryan becomes the strikeout king with 3,509 strikeouts, passing Hall of Fame pitcher Walter Johnson. You know, Shannon, you do a great Kim Mulkey. Here's my Nolan Ryan. This is Nolan Ryan. Nolan Ryan, eat some sausage. Don't be a knucklehead. This is Nolan Ryan. How's that?
Did he used to talk like that?
He kind of talks like that now.
He
This is Nolan Ryan.
got some radio spots up here. I guess I'm just not super familiar with his speaking voice.
I'll have to
take you for your word.
Your Kim Mulkey is better than my Nolan Ryan, but I'm working on my Nolan Ryan.
Okay.
So yeah, maybe, since he's cutting radio spots, for us in Austin. Maybe we'll get him on, and we can do dueling. I'll do a dueling Nolan Ryan with Nolan Ryan, and then you get Kim Mulkey, and it'll just
that
people's
should be a full segment you
Yes.
do with Chris Duels, and it's just
Yeah.
you dueling random things
Woo.
against other people.
There
who
you
are
go.
legit at them.
And luckily, it will be radio with Nolan Ryan, because if I were in the same studio doing that, he would go old Robin Ventura on me and get me in a headlock and just beat the living crap out of me. So thank you, Nolan. Finally, this day in 2017, in the NFL draft, with the number 1 overall pick, the Cleveland Browns select Texas A&M defensive end Myles Garrett. I know you love your Aggies, Shannon.
I'm wondering if they disowned him or not yet.
I did that just for you. I don't know. That was a weird little episode there when he said that the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback was.
There was that, and then there was the thing on the street.
Yeah.
Going after somebody.
Come on, Miles. Get with the program. That's this day in sports history. How about sports birthdays? Got 4 of them. Born on this day in 1932, NFL head coach Chuck Knox. He coached the Rams, the Bills, and the Seahawks. Chuck Knox, Knox, was born in Sewickley, Pennsylvania. He died in 2018. If only HBO had Hard Knocks when Chuck Knox was a head coach, it would have been a perfect fit. Born on this day in 1941, maybe the greatest middle linebacker in Dallas Cowboys history. Out of Alabama, he played at Alabama for Bear Bryant. He was born in Excel, Alabama. Leroy Jordan, number 55. I loved me some Leroy Jordan when I was growing up. Another guy I loved when I was growing up was born on this day in 1952. The Iceman, George Gervin, San Antonio Spur, born in Detroit, Michigan. Happy birthday, the Iceman. Someday I'll tell you about my Iceman Ice money-making scheme that I give out for free and nobody's taken it yet. Finally, Shannon, we learned this earlier today. Final and biggest sports, forget the Iceman, forget Leroy Jordan, forget Chuck Knox. It is the birthday of listener to this show and frequent participant on Facebook Live, the pride of the University of Georgia, personal friend of all 8 personalities of Herschel Walker, and she works at the San Antonio Food Bank. She's a big part of what they do. Laura Burris. Happy sports birthday to Laura Burris this morning. That's sports birthdays. That's sports history. Now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, countrymen, and farm animals, here it is. You waited for it. It's here. Your salty shakedown.
Which this week is brought to you by Nolan Ryan's Good Stock. Go over to AN1300.
Is it Nolan Ryan?
Contest page and enter the Salty
Nolan
Shakedown
Ryan
Sizzling Summer Tailgate Contest. The perfect tailgate pack for your sporting events. It contains Angus ribeyes, strip steaks, and fillets. All you got to do, head to the Zones website and enter to win the Good Stock Tailgate Pack. The perfect choice when you're hosting a game day tailgate at the stadium or watch party in the comfort of your home. Hand-selected, a variety of their most popular Good Stock Angus steaks will ensure everyone gets their favorite cut. Score big with family and friends when you select the Tailgate Pack. All right, starting off in the NFL this morning, we've got a jersey swap.
Uh-oh.
Probably not the biggest player or name on your radar, but a pretty awesome story. Patrick Peterson, who formerly of the Arizona Cardinals, where he was drafted in, I believe, 2011. He's been there since 2011. He is now with the Minnesota Vikings. He went to LSU, where he donned number 7. When he was with the Cardinals, he was number 21. And now he's back to being number 7, but he didn't just get it, right? It's not just because the rules have changed and the NFL is allowing certain players to wear different numbers. It's because he had to earn it or pay for it in a way, because Minnesota Vikings backup QB Nate Stanley was the holder of number 7. He is a 2-year player now for the Vikings. And instead of just saying, hey, man, can I have your number? I'll pay you for it. Or, hey, man, can we just switch numbers here? Patrick said, hey, here's what I'll do. I will donate brand new shoulder pads to your high school in Wisconsin if you give me that number 7 jersey. And Nate said, you got it, dude. So
Woo!
now he's got his number 7 jersey. He was a stud when he was at LSU in that number 7. So hopefully for the Vikings, it'll work out for them just as it worked out for him in getting that jersey. See, why couldn't Carson Wentz at least do that? You know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe not just, don't insult the guy just by saying, like, oh, here's some money. Like, donate to something he cares about or help him out in some way rather than you're being selfish is what you're doing, Carson. I know you ended up taking a different number, but we all know you really wanted to keep number 11. But congratulations to Patrick Peterson on getting the jersey he wanted and doing it in such an awesome way by donating brand new shoulder pads to those kids. I mean, pretty awesome. Not only that, you get new shoulder pads, but you got them from a professional NFL player.
I got to ask you this, Shannon, because I have the answer for me, and I want to know you are a professional sports broadcaster. We talk a lot of NFL football. Before this story, had you ever heard of quarterback Nate Stanley? Nope. I haven't either. We talk about all these.
Just like I'd never heard of Ben DiNucci.
Yeah, but it's we talk about can Sam Ehlinger make it in the NFL? It's like there's a dude earning a paycheck, second-year quarterback in the National Football League for the Minnesota Vikings. His name is Nate Stanley, and I would imagine 98% of our listeners, including us, have never heard of the guy.
Yeah. But and he is an NFL quarterback, so he probably does make a good chunk of change, but not the same amount of change that, a star like Patrick Peterson is compared to him that could afford to donate all of those shoulder pads, because the shoulder pads are not cheap. All right. I'm going to switch it up. We're going to go to the NBA before we jump back to the NFL. We're going to go with Kevin Love because I'm hoping you saw this, Chris. Last night, the Cleveland Cavaliers, who I believe are in 13th place in the East, lost to the Raptors, and it wasn't pretty, right? I know they're not going to get into the play-in tournament. They're definitely out of the playoffs, but 33 seconds left in the third quarter. The Cavs are, I believe, down by 4. And Kevin Love is responsible for an inbounds pass. The ref tosses the ball to him, and instead of grabbing it, looking for his man, he just kind of like volleys the ball from the pass from the ref and puts it in bounds, to which the Raptors pick it up. They get a 3 right off the bat, and then quickly, before the quarter can end, Raptors are up by 11. Kevin Love did not play the rest of the game. He actually went back to the locker room early. He basically threw a giant temper tantrum. People still don't know why he did it. He did apparently apologize to the team after the game. But, I mean, poor Kevin Love. I mean, I know, he shouldn't be doing this, but I just think of his career and how when he was in Minnesota, he was like the dude, right? He had the Taco Bell ads and all the commercials, and then he goes to the Cavs, and it all looks lovely and great. You've got your big 3, whatever. You finally win a championship, but all your buddies leave you. You're supposed to be the guy. You're supposed to be the leader of this team. And now you're doing things like this. I don't know if he's just done with the Cavs. I don't know if he's done with the NBA. I don't know, but I do know that was the laziest play I think I've ever seen in the NBA. If you want to point to a reason why people are kind of hating on the NBA these days, I'm sure this will become a prime example. Chris, did you see the clip? And what are your overall thoughts on Kevin Love? Because I know people love him for speaking out on mental health, and that is great. But you have that platform because you play so well in the NBA, and when you do things like this, it takes away from it.
Yeah, not a good look at all. Everything you laid out, it's so true. He wound up in Cleveland winning that championship with LeBron James and Kyrie Irving, and now it's all gone to hell. A guy from UCLA who's got ties to the Beach Boys and Mike Love. His dad, Stan Love, played for the San Antonio Spurs for a very short time. In fact, we stole a basketball from his dad, Stan Love. That's a whole nother story for another time. But you got to feel for Kevin Love. I'm with you as well. He is a guy who, like DeMar DeRozan, has been courageous speaking out about his struggles with depression, but kind of a low moment in his career, perhaps last night when you see how this played out.
We haven't heard from him directly. We only heard the coach in the post game saying he did apologize to the players, but that you could only ask Mr. Kevin Love what was going through his mind when he decided to do the world's laziest inbounds pass. All right. I said we get back to the NFL. So here we go. Kylie Murray, former number 1 overall pick to the Arizona Cardinals, is now a number 1 overall pick to the FaZe Clan. Now, Chris, I'm sure you're a big fan of the FaZe Clan. I'm sure you've got the T-shirts, the merch. You've seen the commercials. You've seen it all.
Not yet.
So the FaZe Clan is one of the world's largest esports organizations, and Kyler Murray, as we know, just won MVP of the pro NFL Pro. Prior to the Super Bowl, weekend before the Super Bowl, where they played Madden instead of went to Florida or Hawaii where they do the Pro Bowl, right? He won MVP while playing Madden because he is a big Madden guy and he is a big Call of Duty guy. He has 63,000 followers on Twitch. That's the kind of level you and I are trying to get at.
Exactly.
I think we're at a solid 8 right now, which I think is a pretty great start.
We're going to catch him.
We're starting out on a gaming platform and sitting here talking sports each morning. But he has joined the FaZe Clan. They had a little video where they acted like it was a draft, and he was once again the number 1 overall pick. He is super excited. The esports, obviously a billion-dollar industry. Not even before now with streaming, it's even bigger, right? And it's a chance for him to. He's also trying to invest in the company and to make more money. I think it's an awesome thing for him and his future. And, you know, if you're a professional athlete, you know, we see all these awful stories of people going to nightclubs and then getting hit over the head with bottles and things happening that are out of their control, but they are in these situations because they chose to go out at night. You know, why not be like Kyler Murray and head home and play some video games and make money while you're doing it? I think it's pretty awesome. I think it's a great way to do recovery if you are an athlete, right? Just sitting there doing, they all have those giant like leg balloon things that I guess I don't know what they do exactly or if they do anything at all. But I just imagine him posted up after a game on Sunday evening, hanging out, playing some Call of Duty, playing some Madden, and now doing it as part of the FaZe Clan. That's capital F, lowercase a, capital Z, lowercase e.
Nice.
So I don't know if you're looking for a team to root in the esports world, but now we've got Kyler Murray's part of the FaZe Clan, Ben Simmons also part of this FaZe Clan, and LeBron's son Bronny also a member of the FaZe Clan. So it's kind of cool now to see esports, which a lot of people rag on for calling it sports when it's video games, and now actual sports, as some would say, merging together, becoming one.
Woo!
There you have it. Today's salty shakedown. And I did want to touch on this a little bit before we go to break because I saw this yesterday that, and I don't recall the company, but Trevor Lawrence is going to put his signing bonus into I believe it's virtual currency like Bitcoin, a company that he is partnered up with. But his entire signing bonus, which is believed to be in the millions, right?
Yikes.
That is, I don't know if that's crazy smart or crazy insane. Because what happens if that all goes away? I mean, virtual currency, I still don't quite understand it fully myself, but to put all of that money there.
I would imagine he's got advisors, and if Trevor Lawrence is doing it, there are probably some really smart people who he trusts that are advising him to do it. And certainly, and I don't know a whole lot about Bitcoin or virtual currency either. I just do know that Bitcoin certainly is hugely successful, and the people who believed in it from the get-go are happy they did. So it'll be interesting to see if this works out for Trevor.
It's great for the company because they get all of this money in there.
Yeah.
And then other people are saying, well, Trevor did it, so let me put some in there. So I'm sure it's going to work out well for all of them. I was just, very surprised. You're so used to seeing stories of guys going out and getting their parents a house or upgrading a car or maybe going on a little shopping spree to get some new clothes or like a cool chain. And he is like, no, I am investing all of this into virtual currency. I mean, sign of the times, Chris.
Sure is.
Times.
Sure is. And just a quick thought back to Kyler Murray for a moment and being a gamer and playing Madden. I wonder if you're a quarterback in the NFL and you actually play the game on the field in real life, I wonder if playing Madden helps you. I wonder if it helps your just timing, reaction. I wonder if it gives you just a slight edge when you're actually. I wonder if when Kyler Murray is like, I don't know if he goes, ooh, I saw this in Madden. I can do this.
I wonder if Madden is like the game that he ends up playing most professionally. If someone on the other teams try and say he shouldn't be allowed to because he already knows the playbooks or something connected to how, because he's in the NFL, it makes him better at this, that it's an unfair advantage somehow.
Very interesting. An outstanding salty shakedown, Shannon. Thank you
sir.
very much. All right. Fasten your seatbelts. I mean, it's Christmas morning is coming for this guy. Tanner Carlson, just 2 days removed from his personal nirvana, which is the NFL draft. Any new thoughts from Tanner? Who would he vote for in our poll where we ask which of the top quarterbacks will most likely be a bust? Because at least one of them will be a bust. We'll talk NFL draft and a whole lot more coming up. Shannon Salty Sweeney, Dave Ayler makes the show go. With you till 9, I'm Chris. It's the Chris Duel Show. Dean Stone says Bitcoin works in the air water machine at the gas station. Crazy. Crazy.
I understand Bitcoin like I understand the cloud. It's just, it's up here somewhere.
That's a good analogy. Clint Proctor, welcome in. Clint says, I'm late, but I'm here. It's about time, Clint. Chris Gonzalez, welcome in. Yeah, good point, Chris Gonzalez. Nolan Ryan broke that record in 82, actually 83, and played another 10 years. Crazy. Jeff Garcia, what is up? That's right. Jeff Garcia covers NBA 2K. As someone who reports on NBA 2K, I can tell you that the players who are in the league tell me playing basketball in real life helps their play during the season behind the controllers. There you have it. Thank you, Jeff Garcia.
Well,
Jeff
now
Garcia,
anytime I
Locked On
lose on the live version, I'm just going to assume that they're an NBA player and they cheated.
There you see out.
That's my out.
Woo.
And because they're so rich, they can like just buy the virtual currency all at once to completely max out their players. And that is also an unfair advantage. I have to grind like a normal person to earn my virtual currency by playing the game for hours and hours.
Good point. I got to get the tripod for Tanner. Tripod for Tanner. Switching to iced tea now. Pure leaf, for those of you scoring at home. Unsweetened, so that I can maintain my girlish figure. I think, Louisa, Thursday night is just round one. That's a good question. I'm pretty sure it's just round one. But let me see if I can Google that and give you the official answer. Okay, only the first round is on Thursday, 7 o'clock Central Time. Second and third rounds are on Friday, and rounds 4 through 7 are on Saturday. I thought that was the case, but I'm glad you asked that question because I had not looked that up lately. So I was not totally confident. Okay, I tried to click on the video, and my Facebook is saying that content is not available right now. And I know it's there because I see Louisa just responded, so Louisa has it. Let me try that again. Oh, there it is. Weird. Weird, weird, weird. Well, Shannon, no Tanner yet. I saw him down the hall earlier. We'll see what happens. Carl Fisher, question to everyone who wants an NFL team in San Antonio. Do we want our team playing in the, I guess you're saying the NFC or the AFC? Carl, I would take a team anywhere. I mean, if I had to pick, because the Cowboys are in the NFC. I like the NFC. But then again, as Cowboy fans, would you rather they were not in that conference? Good question. No Tanner at this point. So we'll just do our thing. We'll talk a little draft ourselves. Maybe he is held up with some big news. There he is. What's happening, man? All right. Yeah, I won't go till you're ready. Or I won't throw to you till you're ready. It is a Taco Tuesday. but it's a special Taco Tuesday because we are just 2 days away from the NFL draft. Round 1 will be Thursday night. By the way, we've got great draft coverage. As it gets closer, we'll tell you all about it, but you can hear all the excitement Thursday night in the NFL draft right here where you are listening, and that would be on either Austin's AM 1300 The Zone or on San Antonio's Ticket 760, a big Fox Sports lineup of radio personalities to bring you the NFL draft. And Shannon, before we bring in Tanner Carlson, we did get a question on Facebook Live from Luisa Alanis, who joins us regularly. She says, how many rounds of the NFL draft are going to happen on Thursday night? Thursday night is only round 1. It starts at 7:00 Central Time. Then on Friday will be the second and third rounds of the draft, and Saturday rounds 4 through 7. And only if you're a hardcore human being are you going to be there on Saturday for rounds 4 through 7. Shannon, before we introduce Tanner, who I think will be there for rounds 4 through 7, I mean, I would imagine you're not even looking at it on Saturday for rounds 4 through 7.
No. I have family in town this weekend. They're staying at my place. I'm hoping the weather is similar to last weekend, where it was just fantastic. Want to enjoy the backyard and maybe some sunshine, because Lord knows I need it. I mean, I'll be checking in.
If you want to get rid of family, you can always just turn on the NFL draft if you want to clear the house from non-football fans.
Like, this is boring. I want to go.
It's an idea. Well, he is our official go-to guy, and now he's on Facebook Live for the NFL draft, and 2 days away. You can almost taste it. It's like the presents are under the tree. They're still wrapped, but Tanner, we get to unwrap these presents pretty quickly.
So, Shannon, you're telling me that a backup guard in the 4th round from Montana State doesn't spike your interest at all?
No. I'm not going online and buying his NFT rookie card. Not doing it.
But what about his story? You find out that, he had a...
Yeah, and then his story ends 3 months later when he doesn't make it past training camp.
Yeah. You know what was really weird last year? They did a lot of stories about all these players and their parents dying, or they were, raised by their uncle. Or
it's turning into American Idol is what it is. Everyone's got a sad story.
Yeah, they really went with the sad stories last year during the draft. It was like, okay, we're already dealing with a pandemic. Can we not talk about all these teenagers losing their parents at an early age? And that's what sparked their interest in football and kept them off the streets. And it was like half of the first round almost had the exact same story. It's like, guys, can we like this is supposed to be a happy day. Like, don't bring me down with that negativity, But the coolest thing, and I've said this before, what I really loved last year because of the pandemic, you did have cameras in the houses of so many, and to me that was half the fun. Not only seeing the young person's life changed forever and a dream come true, but to see their parents light up and girlfriends and siblings, and hopefully we get a lot of that starting on Thursday night.
And who can forget CD Lamb hiding his second cell phone from his girlfriend?
That was a moment.
That was probably the play of his career up to this point. That possibly was the most clutch play that he has made as a Dallas Cowboy.
That phone was put where only he could catch it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He nabbed that thing away. He mossed her for sure.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
And 1 year later, I wonder if CD Lamb is still with that girl.
That would be interesting. Yeah, that would be interesting. But it's here. Like you said, it's almost the Christmas Eve of the NFL draft. It's almost NFL draft Eve. And I couldn't be more excited.
I got to start with our poll question, and we'll have you answer this question, and you know more about the NFL draft than most. History tells us at least one of these quarterbacks will be a bust. Which of these quarterbacks is most likely to be a bust in the National Football League? In alphabetical order, we've got 4: Justin Fields, Mac Jones, Trevor Lawrence, or Zach Wilson.
It's tough because a lot of the bust thing, I believe a lot of the bust thing goes into the situation you're put in. And I know a lot of these guys are going to be higher draft picks, but a lot of it is the scheme. And then a lot of it, like, a lot of people wrote off Alex Smith whenever he was drafted number 1 overall for San Fran, and they weren't getting anything going until he finally got a secure, comfortable, consistent coaching staff that had been there for longer than 1 season, So a lot of it does have to do with that. If I just have to go out on a limb and say which one I think is going to be a bust, I would have to probably go Mac Jones. I think he has the lowest ceiling, which I don't know if it's the lowest floor. I think maybe the lowest floor could be Trey Lance. I think he might be the biggest risk in terms of the first-round quarterbacks from North Dakota State. And that's just because he didn't play last year, and he's from a Division II school, and those tend to be a little bit more risky than anything else. So I'd say he probably has the lowest floor, but I'd say the lowest ceiling out of all of them, if you're picking in the top 10, would probably be Mac Jones from Alabama.
Going to be very, very fascinating. And from what I heard, I was listening. I told Shannon this earlier after our show yesterday. I'm listening to the Dan Patrick show. And while the 49ers, most analysts and people who seem to have ties to the 49ers believe that they traded up to get to that number 3 to pick Mac Jones, apparently, according to an insider that Dan Patrick knows, there's at least one person now in that 49er inner circle who really likes Trey Lance. Whether or not that person can convince Kyle Shanahan and everybody else to pull the trigger on him. But I do agree. I think there is, and I maybe it's not fair, but you're the guy who went to North Dakota State. There is, I think, a higher degree of risk when you go to an Alabama, when you go to an Ohio State, and I know those schools have notoriously not produced great quarterbacks lately, right. But when you go to a big time school, to me, that's the closest approximation to the NFL experience, from the spotlight being on you. Expectations are sky high. Fan base is rabid. More pressure on you on and off the field, I believe, than a smaller school. So that's why I think those guys on a certain level might be better prepared.
Yeah, and better quality opponents. I think that's what people look like. People kind of like to dog on the Big 12, especially at the quarterback position, in terms of, maybe aside from Oklahoma, because they've had like 3 of the last top picks in the draft at quarterback and Heisman candidates out the butt. But they dog on the Big 12 because the defense isn't good, and that anybody like Patrick Mahomes could throw for 5,000 yards in a season in the Big 12. That's so easy to do. And the SEC is this. And it's getting to the point where that, to me, doesn't really matter as much as, what are the mechanics of the quarterback? Is he got the is he reading what the defense is giving him? Is he making progressions? And a lot of college systems don't allow you to do that. It's a one read or take off and run, or the read is given to you or you hand it off. It's an RPO situation. That's a lot of college ball. So it's hard to tell. And that's why a lot of people are high on Alabama quarterbacks going into the draft, because they do or have traditionally played a traditional style of offense when it comes to a pro style offense in college, which there's not really any college team that plays a traditional pro style anymore. I just don't think you see that much, which is why you see guys like Kyle Shanahan and Doug Peterson and, a Kellen Moore at Dallas as an offensive coordinator really implementing a lot of the college playbook into the NFL. And that's why a guy like Trey Lance and Justin Fields are being looked at in a much more higher regard than they would have, say, 10 years ago. Because I don't believe 10 years ago Justin Fields or Trey Lance are first-round picks.
Wow. That's a thought right there. He is Tanner Carlson. You're a huge Cowboys fan. A lot of our focus, even talking NFL draft, goes to the Dallas Cowboys. Big story yesterday, the retirement of Sean Lee. I know the three of us were kind of texting and talking about it. I do find it interesting. And do you think because the draft is on Thursday that Sean Lee, so the Cowboys know they've got a little more of a need than they might have had he tried to play another season? Do you think the timing of his retirement had something to do with the draft?
Yeah, and I think that's definitely a as he always has been, a player-friendly, team-oriented guy, letting the general manager, letting the coaches know, look, guys, I'm not going to be here next year. You might want to add linebacker to that need or move it up the list of need in the draft because I'm not going to be there. So talking on Sean Lee, the ultimate team guy. I think people forget or choose to forget or, just don't remember that at the top of his game, he was a top 5 linebacker in the league. I mean, he was with the likes, if healthy and playing at the top of his game. He was with the Luke Kuechly's, the Patrick Willis's, the Bobby Wagner's of the league at that point in time. He was there with them step for step. He was
I told Shannon he'd have been a Hall of Famer. If you look at his numbers when he's healthy and those tackles, I think he would have been a Hall of Famer had he been healthy.
He would have been to way more than just 2 Pro Bowls. He would have been a couple of All-Pro selections had he been able to remain healthy. We're talking about Sean Lee and the likes of a Ray Lewis, a Brian Urlacher, and the modern-day linebacker position. He would have been up there with them. It's just unfortunate that injuries did play a huge part in how we are going to perceive him moving forward in NFL lore or even Cowboy lore. He'll always kind of be one of those great Cowboys. He's going to go down as a Jason Witten-esque Cowboy in terms of just how loyal he was to Dallas and the hard work he put in and the teammate that he was to other players that came and go throughout the Cowboys while he was there. So he'll always hold a kind of that special place in my fandom for Sean Lee, General Lee. There's not anything bad you can say about the guy except for the fact of I just wish he could have stayed healthy and what could have been.
So Shannon, we've talked about this. You're not nearly as into the draft as Tanner is, as I am. But opening night, you've got the coronation of Trevor Lawrence. We find out where these quarterbacks go. Obviously, you're a Cowboys fan. Who do they choose at 10? Anything else on the Thursday night that sparks your interest?
Well, we talked about the Rams draft house, and I don't know how much we'll get to see of that, but it's surely going to be a storyline of just what the draft room setups look like, not only because of COVID. And remember, there are restrictions in place, but there's also some leniency if you are in a room where everyone has had all of their vaccinations. The Rams don't have a first-round pick, but it'll be interesting, even more so, to see if they do show us the inside of their fancy draft Malibu mansion to see what that looks like. And I think a lot of people might miss what last year's looked like, where we kind of got to see the inside of these coaches' homes during the draft. Bill Belichick, one of my favorites from last year. I'm gonna miss his dog. That we may see them kind of revert back to something, somewhat like it, that just makes it more interesting, because the thing for me in the draft is the timing, right? Like, you have to sit there and wait, even if a team, we know Trevor Lawrence is going to go number 1, but are they going to get the pick in the second this clock starts? No, we're going to have to sit there and we're going to have to wait. So what is it that they do in between announcing picks? That's the part that either keeps me into it or gets me out of it.
See, that's what keeps me on the edge of my seat, is like, I don't know. Is there going to be a trade? Who's going to be next? Are they going to, because you can do 1,000 billion gajillion mock drafts and you're never going to get a single one of them right, all the way from 1 to 32. Like, the different combinations of things that could go on and happen, like Houston doesn't have a first pick or second round pick. They don't have a first, or they're not even going to pick until day 3, till Saturday is when they're scheduled to have their first selection of this year's draft. Now, do they trade up into the second round? Do they trade up into the first round? You need draft assets to do that, which they don't have. You have to trade something if you're going to now, they could if they got rid of Watson, but I don't think he's a very hot commodity at this point in time. So, I think, the Texans are kind of at a loss when it comes to what they're going to do, and their fans will not be watching this year's draft. They may not be watching a lot of football this year, just in general, because it's not going to be a good football team. I think what I'm most interested in, there's a lot of teams, and there's 2 positions that I think could really dictate in terms of how these teams are going to move forward with their teams. There's a lot of teams I've noticed with, like, the Raiders. There's a lot of teams, the Tennessee Titans, the Indianapolis Colts, that are all kind of on that edge of, are we going to make a push? Are we going to finally make a push, a deep run in the playoffs? And these are 2 very important positions in which to do that, because if you're not scoring points, you're not doing anything in the NFL. It's an offensive-driven league. We all know that. Offensive tackle and wide receiver. There's a lot of left tackles that could go in the first round. There's also the wide receivers. Obviously, we know the big 3 with Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith from Alabama, and Jalen Waddle from Alabama. After that, And then in what order do those three guys go in, and to who do they go to in the top 10 or top 15? And then after that, what are these teams going to do with tackle and then wide receiver? Are they going to go more offensive line based? Me personally, I think you build a roster through your offensive line and then worry about the skill positions later. But if there's a guy that slips, maybe a Jalen Waddle slips to, 16, 17, and you get a steal, and then that might push another offensive tackle a little bit further down that could have been picked. Those are the things that go through my mind, just the chain reaction, the domino effect of these guys either slipping or teams trading up to go get a guy that people are like, whoa, what? I had a third round grade on that guy. Why is he getting picked in the first? So it's those types of things that's what keeps me on the edge of my seat. That's what kind of keeps me going in the draft.
And you mentioned Jalen Waddle, and that is another storyline here. There's always a guy or multiple guys.
CeeDee Lamb.
That you're shocked that they did slip, and you find out they could fall into the hands of your favorite team.
I don't think there was a single mock draft I read last year that had CeeDee Lamb falling to Dallas. Not a single one. And people always say, well, Kyle Pitts could never fall to New England. CeeDee Lamb couldn't fall to Dallas last year. Trevon Diggs, who we got in the second, was supposed to be a first rounder last year. We got him in the second round. So there are things that happen that are just absolutely bizarre, where all these TV analysts and these experts in the draft, like Mel Kiper and myself, I like to compare myself to the big guys. We don't know anything when it comes to what the NFL scouts and the guys making the big decisions are thinking in their own head. So, and they keep it very tight to the chest, and they're never going to let up, one inch one way or the other of where they're going to go in the draft. So that to me is always pretty interesting as well.
Cowboys obviously have needs on defense. How many, given where they're drafting, how many starters realistically can they get in the first few rounds of this draft to really help that defense this season?
I think there's a fairly deep draft, especially with the amount of needs that Dallas has on the defensive side of the ball in particular. But I think you can find now Dallas is going to play more of a nickel defense anyway. They're going to play more secondary guys and go with Van Der Esch and Jalen Smith. But if they find a linebacker to replace Lee, I think you've got a starter right there. If you can find someone in the first 2 or 3 rounds that you really like and he steps up big time in training camp, you might have a starting linebacker right there in the draft. I think corner is another position that you can find a starter in. And if you go number 10, your number 10 pick better be a starter, or else what are you doing?
Yeah.
So I think you've got at least 1 or 2 guys right there just defensively, just based on need and the lack of bodies you have at those 2 positions. So I think there's at least 2 minimum. And then maybe, hopefully, you can find an interior defensive lineman or a safety or something along the lines of you've got 4 picks in the top 100. Those are your starter guys. Those are your guys that you're looking to make a play or making an impact on your roster. Maybe not starting, but at least getting valuable minutes in the top 100. And Dallas has 4 of those. So you're hoping, best case scenario, you get 4 guys out of this year's draft that you're going to see play valuable and important minutes, whether that's all defense or offense. And I think left tackle or right tackle, I think getting an offensive lineman, a swing tackle, is vital for Dallas this year. I do not see Tyron Smith playing 17 games. I don't know if I see La'el Collins playing 17 games. And I don't want to go through undrafted rookie free agents starting at those 2 spots again, especially after Dak coming off of an injury.
Finally, Tanner, we'll have to figure this out we're going to have you on draft day Thursday, but Shannon, we got to have some kind of a competition. I don't know how we're going to structure this, but we have to have some kind of a thing. Now, granted, Tanner is the ringer, so it's not. We got to come up with something that's fair enough that gives Shannon and gives me a chance to compete with you, Mel Kiper Jr. in this draft.
Well, we don't have to. It doesn't have to be a bet or a competition, does it? Or is that what we want?
It's usually more fun.
It is. It is.
I don't know.
I just
I have faith in myself. Before we go, Tanner, I do need to ask you this because I noticed something you tweeted over the weekend.
Oh, that's right.
Cowboys head coach for the win.
Yeah.
Is that supposed to be ironic?
Yeah, that was Coach McCartney.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah, Coach McCartney for the Dallas Cowboys, who always gets mistaken for the Coach McCarthy. He tweeted something out on social media. And I was like, oh, There's the Dallas Cowboys head coach again for the win.
I'm just glad we're all on the same page.
Yeah,
here.
yeah, no,
Don't
it
be
was-
that person.
It was parody. It was satire.
Yeah, we were worried about you just a little bit. Just a little bit.
I don't think the actual Coach McCarthy has a Twitter handle. I don't think he actually had.
He's not on social.
Yeah, I
no.
didn't think so.
He's trying to be all cool with analytics these days. You would think that he'd get on Twitch even.
That's where he watches the games. He just doesn't realize he's watching someone else play them on Madden. And
That's right.
on actual tape.
So yeah, I saw all the plays.
I watched all the plays. Yeah, every single one of them.
That's why we
Watching
weren't so
Kyler
good.
Murray.
Well, Tanner, we will our big extravaganza. Your final thoughts on draft day. We'll have you on Thursday. It'll be a beautiful thing.
I can't get past Coach McCarthy. I can't get past Mike McCarthy watching Madden, actually thinking he's watching real film out there of the next opponent.
It would explain a lot about what we've seen thus far.
Yeah.
Tanner's a great follow on Twitter at Tanner Carlson 20, and he'll be back here on Thursday on draft day, just 48 hours from now. Outstanding as always, sir. Have a great week. We'll see you on Thursday.
See you then.
He is Tanner Carlson. Quick break. Andy Everett, we think, is going to join us coming up. Andy's thoughts on golf, on all things sports, on the Tiger Woods photo that emerged over the weekend, and a whole lot more. We're with you till 9. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. Dave Ayler making the show go. It's the Chris Duel Show. Hello, Don. Yeah, I do want to have some kind of a competition. We'll figure it out.
We need to brainstorm.
Yeah.
On it. I mean, it's hard to do a competition on the draft because no one's gonna get. You're not gonna get picks right. You're not. I mean, you can get lucky and maybe get one right, but
Yeah.
there's so much that happens. I don't know. I was thinking about bringing in a mock draft on Thursday though. Just my own.
Yeah, I did. I saw on my time hop. I did like the first round or maybe a couple last year, and I put them out there.
I was going to do a 7-round Cowboys mock draft, and just for names for people to kind of guys that I like throughout the 7 rounds, for people to kind of keep a name out.
Well, if you do that, then we'll have you just walk us through who those names are. Yeah. So but we'll.
But I don't know. In terms of a competition, I don't know.
I'll keep thinking. I'll shoot you guys some ideas, and we'll come up with something.
We got the group chat.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, man. Thanks so much. Anthony Del Toro, good morning. Don Holding is in here. Don's going to be on the show Thursday as well. Axel J. Miller, welcome in. Yeah, we mentioned the Iceman's birthday today, Axel. See, born in 1952, I think. I had that here a second ago. So that makes him what? If it's 2021. 69? So I guess he'll be 70 next year in 2022. Yeah, without him, Axel, as you know, there are no Spurs today. And to their credit, in their first season in San Antonio, the Spurs did not start with George Gervin. George Gervin was on the Virginia Squires, and the Spurs made a deal. I believe it was a cash deal in January of 1974 to acquire George Gervin from the Virginia Squires. And you mentioned Dr. J. Dr. J was also on the Virginia Squires. The Virginia Squires of the ABA had some amazing, and they didn't make it into the NBA because they let Dr. J go and they let George Gervin go. You look at some of the players that were on the Virginia Squires, they would have been something special. But yeah, if Gervin doesn't come here, and he became the face of the franchise, made the Spurs relevant. A lot of people would have never heard of the Spurs in the ABA if it wasn't for George Gervin. That opened the door and helped them become one of those 4 ABA teams that merged into the NBA. Cool. Thank you. Yeah, Axel, and it's funny. I've talked about that. You know, Michael Jordan in The Last Dance tells that story about preseason and walking into a hotel room, and all the other players were in that hotel room, all supposedly. And I'll have to go back and hear him tell the story. But I do think he said they were all doing Coke and not Coca-Cola, and that he walked out of that gathering. So I've often thought to myself, well, I know somebody on that team. And in fact, Kobe Dietrich, another original San Antonio Spur, he played briefly for the Chicago Bulls. He might have been in that room as well. So, but man, Gervin, just so unique, so smooth. The finger roll, the lanky, I mean, the build at a time when a lot of basketball players were muscular, he was so thin and just a special talent. And like so many Spurs, wound up, born in Detroit, went to Eastern Michigan, wound up living in San Antonio, which was so cool. Staying here. Great to have him. Yes. Little Dancing Queen by ABBA. You don't hear enough Dancing Queen on sports talk radio across the country, but we play it to honor Andy Everett, who'll join us in a moment. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney, Dave Ayler, your soundscape stylist, playing that ABBA music because Andy Everett likes it. And Shannon, as we know, Andy was scheduled to be on the show yesterday, but he was busy. He big timed us yesterday. He said, "Hey man, I'm golfing. I'm busy."
If he didn't win, then that's all for nothing.
Well, let's find out. Let's bring him in. He is the host of the Golf Show on Ticket 760 in San Antonio. 8 o'clock Saturday mornings. He's also the voice of UTSA athletics and our go-to golf guy. Andy Everett, how you doing, man?
No, I did not win. So that was a good cause and a good time. So we did.
So now did you, I'm trying to remember, was it clients? Did you tell me you were golfing with clients? So the good cause was, enriching your bank account because they were clients of yours, right? Was that the cause?
Yeah, and friends and all that. I mean, I think that most of the people that I work with, we develop a friendship or a relationship of some kind. So yeah, it was all good.
Very, very good. Speaking of golf, I have to ask you, over the weekend, we see a photo of Tiger Woods. He is on a golf course, I think his golf course, with a dog. He even cites the dog. He's recovering with man's best friend on crutches in a cast. It was nice to see Tiger Woods in that setting. Your thoughts on that photo and what might be next for Tiger Woods?
Well, I think it's as long as he doesn't have infections in that leg, which I hear are common occurrences when people have that many different procedures and all the different things that go on with trying to rehabilitate a multiple broken bone. I think he may be on the right timeline. Rory McIlroy apparently visited him a few weeks ago, and Tiger didn't say, "I'm not ever playing again." So Rory's pretty adamant that by the end of the year or early into next year, Tiger could play golf again. Now, at what level, who knows? But the most important thing is that he seems to be okay. He seems to be in good spirits, and I don't think he would be resodding his own little private 3-hole golf course in the backyard if he wasn't planning on practicing as soon as the grass comes in. So I would imagine as soon as the docs say it's time to start rehab, he'll do that as much as he's done, with as much fervor as he's done at anything else he's ever done in his life.
Now, whether or not Tiger comes back from this PGA or from this crash to play in the PGA Tour again, obviously remains unseen. But there will come a time when Tiger says, "I'm not playing professionally anymore." So Chris and I were talking about this weekend. I wanted to see which situation you would rather. Would you rather play a round of golf with Tiger and be that close to a guy that probably makes a lot of people nervous to play with, or would you rather have him in the booth over analyzing and critiquing your every move?
Well, I would rather play with him because
wouldn't make you nervous.
I would probably be a little anxious on the first hole or two, but once you get into the swing of things, and I've said that I would make this bet with anybody as long as two things happen. One, the bet has to be reasonable because he can always make it as much as unreasonable as you want it to be. The other thing is that we can't play an overly long golf course because anything over about 6,900 yards is too long of a golf course for me. But pick a golf course, I get to hit 4 balls to his 1 on every hole, and I think I could take it. I get 4 shots off the tee, I get to pick the best one. I get his 4 second shots, I get to make the best one. And when I get on the green, I get 4 chances to make the putt. And I've done that with when I practice, sometimes I'll do that on a golf course. And if I get 4 shots with my own ball, I can shoot 8, 9, 10 under par. So he's going to have to go really, really low if he's going to win that. So I'll throw that out there I would love to play golf with him. And I think it would be a little anxious in the beginning, but at some point it's going to be a fun opportunity.
Well, and Andy, as we were having this conversation, as I told Shannon, whenever, as Shannon mentions, Tiger does hang him up and we know he's not going to play again, I just wonder, and I've always told you as well, Andy, I'm a casual golf fan, but I'm one of those many, many, many fans where if Tiger was in the tournament and if Tiger was in contention on a Sunday, then I would tune in certainly on the Sunday and watch just to see Tiger. Do you think that, and I would think if I'm CBS or if I'm the Golf Channel or whoever, if they had the money to throw at Tiger to have him be an analyst in the booth, and certainly for the Masters, if you could have Tiger with Jim Nantz and just have his voice and his input, I wonder if the same phenomenon would happen where people would tune in just just for Tiger. I now do that with Tony Romo because he's such a good analyst. Do you think Tiger will have a presence in the booth in golf down the line?
Anytime that you take on those roles, I don't think you can just show up at the events that you want to, because either CBS or NBC or the Golf Channel is going to want you there for all of the events, because that's what makes Tony Romo special. If he just showed up, once a year to analyze the game, okay, it would be nice, but he really wouldn't have all the insights and all of those things. So I think whenever the time comes, does Tiger want to commit? I think CBS has 22 weeks and CBS has 18 or 20 of the weeks. Does he want to commit to that much time analyzing golf? Now, the one person that I think would be even better at it than Tiger is Phil. And last year, during one of the events that can't remember which one it was, but they put Phil in the booth with Jim Nantz and Nick Faldo and had him analyze for about 2 hours. And it was television gold. He was really, really good at it. And he wasn't afraid to say things. I mean, he was Johnny Miller-ish, if you will, and saying, well, Johnny Miller used to get criticized for saying, well, this is an easy shot if he doesn't choke. And Phil was able to give insights like that. And I think Phil would actually have more personality on TV in that situation than Tiger would. But remember, for CBS, you're doing the first couple of events of the year in January and February, and then you're basically doing everything from the Masters until the middle of August. You're on every week, and then NBC takes back over to finish up the season because of CBS's football commitment. So it's a long stretch of events, and they'll give you an event off here, an event off there, but for the most part, you're doing a lot of television.
I think we all know Phil has a bit more personality than we ever thought when he and Tiger got together for that epic matchup. I think they've done it twice now, and those have become, I hope they continue to do those, especially once Tiger recovers and whether or not he is playing in the PGA Tour or not. Switching gears now, Andy, I want to get your thoughts on UTSA's spring game, which of course is this weekend. What's the fan situation? What are kind of the big storylines that people should look out for? Are we having a quarterback controversy? What should people be looking for this weekend for the Roadrunners?
Well, as a lot of teams do now with their spring games, it's really not much of a game as much as it is just another practice and another scrimmage to kind of put a wrap on the season. And that's what UTSA is going to do. They're going to do it at the practice field. There are not going to be fans allowed. I think some of the parents or families of the players that have been very well vetted and screened for the COVID issues I may be allowed in. I'm not even sure about that. But we will be there to broadcast from the practice field on Saturday morning. The Roadrunner crew with myself and Jay Riley and Pat Evans and Dan Walters. So we'll be out there for that. And basically, we'll just kind of give people an overview of what the fall is going to look like, which is only 18 weeks away now. So it's getting closer and closer to another football season. I don't think there's a quarterback controversy, but I certainly think there's a quarterback competition. Frank Harris is probably the guy, but I think Josh Atkins is pushing him very hard. I think this will be an interesting year to see how well Sincere McCormick does at running back. I think he's NFL caliber, and this will be his third year in school, so he's eligible to go to the NFL should he want to. And I'm anxious to kind of see what NFL scouts think of his pedigree going into the NFL draft in 2022, or if he waits till 2023. Defensively, I think this team's going to be just lights out. They brought back 12 super seniors, some on offense, some on defense, some on special teams. And Jeff Traylor's pointed out a lot of times, nobody's going to sneak up on us. Last year, nobody was on the all-conference preseason team. Everybody picked them to finish last. They won 7 games, and I think the motto for most of the players on this team is we have unfinished business. Yeah, we were good last year, but there's 4 or 5 games of those 5 that we lost that we could have easily won. And now we got to figure out how to make sure we win those games. And I think the hardest game on the schedule is Memphis, the 4th week of the season. But I don't think there's any other game on that schedule that UTSA is going to be an overwhelming underdog in. And that can that sort of cuts both ways, because number one, you want to be considered to be the favorite, but then you have to live up to that expectation. So we'll see how that all comes to play. But that's what's in store for UTSA and the culmination of the spring practices this Saturday.
And real quick here, Andy, when I stepped onto the UTSA campus in 2011, it was the first season for that football program. And here we are 10 years later. How would you best describe these last 10 years? And how do you feel about where this program is right now, just 10 years old?
Well, I think they've accomplished a lot of things that not very many fledgling football programs would have ever even dreamed of. And to really start it from scratch, to basically go to Walmart and buy a football and a helmet, put some logos on it, and get hand-me-down practice gear from UTEP and from some of the high schools, that's where it all started, basically back in the summer of 2009 when they started having their first fall practices 2 years away from their first game. I think that the program is in its best hands it's been in a long time. I think Jeff Traylor has got an unbelievable network of coaches around the state of Texas. The roster has flipped in 2 years to where about 85% of it is from Texas, and a good chunk of that's from San Antonio. I think that makes people that are in the area able to drive the games and come see them. Hopefully by the time we get to September, the Alamo Dome can be at higher than 20% capacity so that you can get 25 to 30,000 people in the dome at some point. And people will look at that and go, well, that's not Texas numbers and that's not A&M numbers. But if you look at the group of 6 schools, there are very few ever that get more than 30 or 35,000. And I don't think anybody's saying that UTSA is going to take away from the fan base of an A&M or a Texas, but there's no reason why, as exciting as this team is, with as many Texas players that are on it, that the Dome can't have a good 25 to 35,000 people in it for every game, and that will be an incredibly intimidating home field advantage with the noise ratio that goes through that building when it's even half full like that.
With this spring game coming up this weekend, there will be a special edition of the Jeff Traylor Show with Andy Everett. That'll be tomorrow night, Wednesday, 7 o'clock on Ticket 760 in San Antonio. And broadcast time, did you say 9 o'clock Saturday morning for the game, Andy?
9 o'clock Saturday morning. So the golf show will originate from the practice field. And that'll be the first tee on Saturday morning at 8, and then we'll just morph right into the spring game broadcast, and we should be done around 11 o'clock.
Andy doing what he does best, first talking golf and then broadcasting UTSA football. That'll be a great Saturday on Ticket 760 in San Antonio. Andy Everett, outstanding, sir. Have yourself a great week. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you, Chris. And Shannon, see you soon.
All right, Andy Everett, the voice of UTSA athletics and our golf guru. So, Shannon, how do we stand on the big poll question? Which of these quarterbacks will be a bust according to our listeners and viewers?
Leading the way, Justin Fields with 37% of the vote, followed behind Zach Wilson with 28%, Mac Jones at 22%, and Trevor Lawrence at 11%.
See, I would have thought most people would say Justin Fields, so I get that, but I would have thought Mac Jones would be a close second.
Yeah, I think you also have to put into perspective expectation. Right?
Yeah.
Which maybe is where that 11% for Trevor Lawrence is coming from, because he's just expected to blow us all away. And let's be honest, it probably won't happen immediately. So we'll really gonna have to take 5-10 years to come back to this and say, okay, who was considered a bust based on not only their play but expectation that they came in with.
Yeah, I got a feeling that Justin Fields is gonna shock me, because most people, and I'm the same way. Oh, Ohio State, they always kind of stink the place up in the NFL. I just have a feeling he's going to prove people wrong. It's going to be fascinating. And the numbers and history suggests at least one of those guys is not going to make it in the NFL.
Oh, those sad millionaires.
Oh, yeah. And even, what was that dude's name from, I wrote it down. Nate Stanley, the backup quarterback for the Vikings. Nate Stanley makes a lot more money than we do. And here I'm saying, oh, we've never heard of you. Well, he's an NFL quarterback.
He doesn't care.
He doesn't care. And it's got a new number. Thank you, Patrick Peterson. Shannon, outstanding morning. We will do this again in 21 hours.
Yes, we will.
Thank you. Dave Ayler, great job, sir. Great to have you back. And we will see everybody in 21 hours. It is a Taco Tuesday. You know what you have to do. Go get some tacos. We'll see you a little bit later. Thanks for being with us.